You can't get this interior in a Power Wagon normally. Get our full-blown acceleration here with the Rebel. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a driving comparison between a 2021 Ram Rebel and a 2021 Ram Power Wagon. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram here in Sandy for giving me some time with both of the trucks. Check out their inventory link below. Let's get into the video. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the 75th anniversary Power Wagon. So first off, visibility over the hood is unchanged compared to any other Power Wagon. You've got your visibility through both the mirrors, which with these trailer mirrors, it's fantastic. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. So from a visibility standpoint, it's unchanged. And that all being said, let's set off. We are setting off here in the 75th anniversary Power Wagon. And first thing I want to mention is I love the feel of Power Wagons in general, just because obviously you've got the higher suspension compared to a regular heavy duty truck, so it just like towers over everything. And the 33-inch tires, they look so good on the truck. And the cool thing about Power Wagons is you've got so much space there in the wheel wells that you can very easily fit 35s on the truck, which is just awesome. And the Power Wagons with 35s, when people do that, it looks great. But setting off here onto the road, from a ride quality standpoint, it rides very similar to other heavy duties, but different at the same time. So it's still just as smooth as a regular 2500, but you do get a little bit more motion in the suspension, so you get kind of like a little bit more up and down movement. It's not rough, you just have more movement is the best way to put it. I love the torque of this 6.4 Hemi. It's such a good engine. And I know that some people have been asking for a long time for Ram to put a diesel in the Power Wagon. The thing I'd have to say is, first off, the 6.4 Hemi has more than enough torque, especially for the off-road perspective. And the Cummins is very heavy. And the fact that this truck has the 6.4 Hemi actually makes the front end lighter, so the turn end's better. And so it actually just handles better. So you can imagine on the off-road, it's going to handle better, versus if you have the Cummins, you've got a much heavier front end, and so then the handling and the turn end's not as good, which that's important for the Power Wagon being an off-road truck. And yeah, it's easy to maneuver. It doesn't feel massive. I don't feel any difference with these new wheels. I just know that I look a lot cooler with them on. Like, I feel like the wheels were made for this truck. I know that they were technically made for the TRX, but they look so much better on the Power Wagon, if you ask me. And this is coming from someone that has those wheels on their TRX. Like, I love them, but I will admit these look better on the Power Wagon than they do on the TRX. And we will be getting our acceleration here in just a second with this Power Wagon and see how she moves. Yeah, still great. The biggest change here with the heavy duties in the 6.4 Hemi has been adding that 8-speed automatic transmission. Since they've added the 8-speed, it's just completely changed the truck. The gear shifts are extremely smooth. It feels quicker because of the 8-speed. Everything is just better with this 8-speed automatic. The 68 RFE was okay with the heavy duties, but it kind of searched for gears sometimes and just wasn't the best, whereas this 8-speed just knows where to put it all the time, and it just makes this truck so much better. And with that being said, let's sum things up with this 75th anniversary. And if you guys are wondering why I didn't drive it that much, it's because this is a low production truck, and I know whoever buys this is buying it because they know what this truck is all about. So I don't want to put a ton of miles on it. It's only got 16 miles on the odometer, and let's keep it that way. So what do I think of the 75th anniversary? And let's kind of compare this a little bit to the Rebel and to the TRX. I'm hoping that this truck will still be here when my TRX is done, so then I can get a comparison between the two trucks. And with all that being said, I think this is such a good value. I know $70,000 is a lot of money. However, you get, again, a limited production truck with a limited interior. Like, you can't get this interior in a Power Wagon normally. This is the only way you can get this interior, to my knowledge. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. But I think that you can get the same interior that you have in the Laramie in the Power Wagon, but this limited interior is just for this 75th package. And so you get the nicest interior, you get all the nice stuff. You get the Harman Kardon sound system, the 360 camera system, all of the really nice premium features in the truck. And at $70,000. Like, this is the same price pretty much as a normal fully loaded Power Wagon, but it's a special edition and it has a nicer interior. So if you're in the market for a Power Wagon, and if you can find a 75th anniversary like what Sandy has here, I would get one over a regular Power Wagon. I think it's totally worth it. I think it looks so much better with the wheels, with that unique front grille, and this paint color, Anvil, it's a beautiful color. So yeah, that's my take on the 75th. And then compared to the TRX and the Rebel, obviously this is like the big brother to the Rebel with having a little bit more off-road capability because of the sway bar disconnect and the lockers and all that. On-road, the Rebel's a better truck, but off-road, this truck is going to perform better. And then with the TRX, I've had a bunch of people ask me this truck, specifically the 75th compared to the TRX. It really just depends on what you're looking for. If you're gonna do a little bit more with crawling and all that, then this would make more sense. But if you wanna do more with high-speed desert runs and all that, then the TRX is gonna make sense. It just really depends on your driving style and what you're planning on actually doing on the off-road. But obviously, this is extremely capable, and it's fully loaded at 70 grand, whereas a TRX fully loaded is 95 grand. So, I mean, just, again, depends on what you're looking for. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the Rebel before we set off. So visibility over the hood of the Rebel is pretty good, but because that little cool venting thing in the center, it's not as good as the Power Wagon because it kind of sticks up. There's visibility through both the mirrors, and then here's throughout the rest of the rear, which is pretty similar to the Power Wagon, to be honest. And that all being said, let's go. Setting off here in the 2021 Rebel, and if you guys don't know, I actually owned a 2019 Rebel. Had that for probably about 5 or 6 months. I can't remember exactly how long, but had it for an okay amount of time for Ben Hardy time scales. And yeah, it was definitely a really fun truck to have, and it's always fun driving the Rebel again because it kind of reminds me of just how good this truck was, especially for the price point that they're at. So ride quality wise, it's very smooth on road. I know that some people, when they compare this to the Limited and the Laramie, they'll say that this ride's a little bit rougher. That is true, but it's a very small amount. If you don't drive them back to back, it's actually pretty hard to perceive the difference. So unless you own a Limited or a Laramie, or you drive these back to back, you're really not going to be able to perceive the ride quality difference between the trucks. Compared to the Power Wagon, it's smoother, for sure. The Power Wagon, being a heavy duty, already out of the box is gonna be a little bit rougher, but then all the crazy stuff that's happening with the Power Wagon from a suspension standpoint and everything definitely makes it a little bit rougher, but it's not crazy rough. Getting up and going here with the Rebel feels so much smaller. Like the Power Wagon feels like this, like you feel king of the road feeling in that truck. Basically feels like a tank, just feels massive. Whereas this, getting into this, I almost feel like I'm in a car, especially the ride height. There's a huge ride height difference. I feel like going from the Power Wagon to this, I'm going from a truck to literally like a car. It's crazy how big that truck is. Turn-in's definitely better, and I expected that, right? It's lower to the ground, it's lighter, it's smaller. Everything's gonna be better from a handling perspective compared to the Power Wagon. And then the brakes, they're actually a little bit better. Stopping power seems to be a little bit better compared to the Power Wagon. And then we'll get our partial acceleration here. Gotta love the sound of Hemis. I mean, either way, this is a fun video because you gotta listen to two beautiful Hemis, which that is not a bad way to spend, you know, 10 to 15 minutes of your life, however long this video ends up being. But let's get our full-blown acceleration here with the Rebel. Yeah, that's really good from an acceleration standpoint. Yeah, super, super solid from an acceleration standpoint. Compared to the Power Wagon, it's about the same. They feel pretty much the same speed-wise, at least from what I can feel through, obviously, my body and everything. But let's get into setting things up with the Rebel. So from an exterior aesthetics perspective, I definitely like the hood on the Rebel more than the Power Wagon. The Power Wagon doesn't have any cool venting, but the rest of the truck, I definitely think the Power Wagon has more road presence. It's bigger physically, but it just looks a little bit more unique. I definitely just like the look of it. And then from an interior perspective, The Power Wagon's nicer in that 75th package. This has a nice interior. I'm not saying this interior is not nice. The Power Wagon just is nicer. And then from a performance perspective and all that, this one, again, turns in better, rides smoother, acceleration feels about the same. This one will get better fuel economy compared to the Power Wagon, but you don't get as much ground clearance, you don't get as much off-road capability, and so it really just depends on what you're looking for. So do you want a good truck, a truck that's good off-road that's also really good on-road, or do you want a truck that's crazy good off-road? It's still good on road, but it's not as good on road, and that's kind of the differentiation. This truck's not as good off road, but it's better on road, whereas the Power Wagon's better off road, but it's not as good on road. Lots of off roads and on roads, but hopefully that makes sense. Now let's sum things up with our driving comparison. So starting over here with the Rebel definitely drives a lot smaller because, well, it is smaller. It's also smoother on road, definitely has a nicer ride quality compared to the Power Wagon. However, the Power Wagon gives you that awesome king of the road feel. And I mean, let me tell you, that 6.4 Hemi sounds absolutely fantastic. And the acceleration is actually really solid. However, the acceleration between both the trucks is actually pretty similar, even though that truck has a little bit more power and a little bit more torque. How I would put things is, if you want a crazy all-out off-roading beast, the Power Wagon is going to be the one for you from a driving perspective. If you want a truck that you can take off-road, but you're mainly going to be driving it on-road, then the Rebel is going to be a little bit nicer for daily driving use. But again, I get it. If you want to look like a badass, the Power Wagon, I understand it. There's definitely pros and cons to both of them, but that's everything for the driving. Now that's going to sum things up for our driving comparison between the Rebel and the Power Wagon. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry T. Miller Dodge Ram here in Sandy for giving me some time with both the trucks. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.